Quick tables are predefined, preformatted tables you can insert in a click. That is, if you're in a hurry or you don't want to create one from scratch. So to insert one here or see what quick tables are available, because you know what, it doesn't matter if you don't find one that exactly matches what you're looking for as far as the number of cells and the colors, because of course, as we just learned, we can update the table and delete rows, columns, cells, or add to it. In any case, before I show you where it's at, make sure that your cursor is where you want that quick table to be inserted, because where it's flashing, that's where it's going to be inserted. So with it right there, let's come up here and click on the Insert tab, go to the Tables group, just like we're inserting a table. Click on the Table drop-down arrow, all the way down to Quick Tables, and you can see it over to the right. So just move your mouse over to the right. You can see that's Calendar 1. Ooh, that's nice to have calendars. I'm going to look at Tabular List, select that, and I'm done. Okay, well maybe not technically, because what if the item, the label for the column, is going to be camping supplies? And you can see as I start typing, it opens up, stretches the column, and then over here instead of needed, I can type in quantity. Down below, type in sleeping bags, matches, maybe we need a grundle. What's a grundle? Maybe it's 5 boxes per grundle, so you can type in a number there. You get the idea. So it's simple as far as just replacing the text, the default text within the table. And then if you want to be able to insert more columns or rows because you need more than just the 2 columns here, or maybe you really can't see the columns there, or it's not as clear, what you can do is you can come up here, click on the Layout tab, go to the Table group, and click on View Grid Lines. That way, when we're ready to go live here, or to send this off to somebody else, or even print the document out, if you don't like the grid lines, you can always deselect it. That way they won't see it in the document, and also, of course, they won't be printed. If you select View Grid Lines, you want to see if they do print. The best way to find out is to click on the File tab, go to Print, and over in the Print Preview, does it look like there are grid lines there? Let's go ahead down here and click to zoom in. Nope, no grid lines, so they won't print. But they will be viewable when you send this off to somebody else, unless, of course, you come back up here on the Layout tab and turn them off. I like to use grid lines from time to time if I want to work within my table and know exactly where the cells are, because, as you recall, when it comes to manipulating the table, you need to be able to see the lines in between the rows here to hover over, to click and drag to stretch, because if you don't see it, let me undo that and turn off the grid lines. I'm kind of guessing until, oh, there we go. I can see the up and down arrows, meaning that I'm on the line in between these 2 rows here that I can click and drag. In any case, probably a lot easier to view the grid lines while you're working within the tables, but you don't have to. Let's turn them off. And if you don't like the color of the table, then you can come up here to the Design tab. You got the table styles. You can see the default right there when you hover over it. Has a fancy name, Light List Accent 3. In any case, you can click on the More button and just hover over any one of these to get a preview of it over to the, you can't see it because it opened up, so it's covering half my table here, but we can choose something that's blue. And you can see the name of it right there. Again, just hover over it in case if you want to be able to give somebody else the reference for the table style that you have selected here. It's List Table 4, Accent 1. Even so, when you click on the More button, you can see that we've got the list tables. You have them in groups, the grid tables, the plain tables. Let me click off, but that's fine for now. Now, in addition to this, if you have a huge table, like with many columns, and you just have these thin lines that are separating it, let me go ahead and click and stretch the table out more, then come over here and see those grid lines would really be helpful right now because I'm trying to click and drag and stretch this over. Do you recall in the tabs training video how we added tab leaders for the text in our columns where we could leader I from the item here, notebooks, and making sure it's right in line with the number that's needed here? And we use the tab leaders in the tabs training video. In this case, you do have like lines are kind of thin, but you can still, well, for me, maybe some of us would get lost and go, oh, let's see, is it 3? Especially if the column is so far over to the right and not right adjacent to the items here. What you can do instead to help you lead your eyes, instead of using tab stops with tab leaders, you can, from the Design tab in the Tab Styles Options group, do banded rows. When you check that, you can see in the pop-up it displays it in which even rows are formatted differently from odd rows. So when you check it, you can see that there's the odd row beginning 1, then even, odd, even. So that way it keeps your eye more focused going from notebooks, because you want to keep in the color, because if you go up or down, you get out of color. You're in the white territory. You're not focused on notebooks. So that can help quite a bit when it comes to something that's not as concise or as tight. Let me hit undo several times. as the table right here, because magazines, I mean, I don't have to go far to be able to see how many is needed. What about these other options here? We can go over that. You do have banded columns. You can hover over that and you can see how you can have, beginning with the odd, it's going to be colored, and then there's even. The next one would be odd, that would be banded. So you can keep your eyes when you're looking from top to bottom within the column. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that. And then you have what's called the total rows. So let me come down to the bottom here, hit the tab key, and let's type in total tab, and then the number of items needed for our table. Let's add them up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now what the total row option does is after you create a total row with the numbers, is basically it just applies formatting to it to offset it with double lines from everything up above. So if you want to be able to offset that, fabulous. If not, then you can go ahead and deselect it. And then you have what's called first column, which emphasizes everything in the first column as the important items here. Or you can do the last column, which, well, for the numbers needed, it wouldn't make sense, but you could do the last column.